What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I finally got my hands on Sonic Frontiers here on PC, and while I know the game has a lot of different performance issues, especially when it comes to pop-in and things like that, as a Sonic fan, I do plan on playing through the game, so I wanted to know how it'll perform for me here on deck. So let's go ahead and get into it and take a look. The first thing we'll do is get into some settings and just kind of start with high on everything. So it says custom, but it's just a high preset, 60 FPS limit, anti-aliasing's TAA, everything's clicked on here, and resolution scaling we're going to keep to 100% in this video no matter what, and 800p here, full screen, and we'll get into it and take a look. But as I suspected, of course, running the game this way with everything high and clicked on here, we're not going to be able to maintain 30 FPS in the open world area. In the cyberspace side-scrolling, or not just side-scrolling, but through these different like missions, you can get a much different frame rate. We'll take a look at that later on in the video. But out here in the open world, if you're running with the settings like this, you're just not going to be able to get yourself even a locked 30. And while the frame times are fine and there's no stutter, it is a fairly low frame rate that I'd like to stay away from. I would at least like to hold 30 FPS or a variable refresh rate that I can deal with. So I knew immediately I'm going to go in here and make some changes. So I'm just going to go to the low preset. I'm going to maintain the 60 FPS cap. I really don't like the in-game's 30 FPS cap anyways. FXAA on our anti-aliasing here, low on everything else. And again, staying 100% on our resolution scaling. And instantly that'll take us from this area being 25 to 28 FPS up into the 30s, and something that I know I could either run VRR or that I could cap to 30 FPS and get a decent experience. Now, for the most part, no matter what I've found in this game, and we'll take a closer look as we go here, there isn't really a way to hold 40 FPS everywhere. There are places that the game runs like 50s, but to just hold 40 all the time isn't really going to happen. You could get into some bringing down your resolution scale or the deck's onboard FSR. If it gets a bit blurry, it's maybe okay in handheld, not great at all in docked. I'm just not going to mess around with bringing the resolution down for a few frames in a game like this that I'm pretty much okay with 30 to 40. Now besides that, let's go in here and look at the settings again. Staying 60 FPS cap low. I'm going up to TAA on my anti-aliasing, and I'm going to stay low on everything else here with 100% render scale. This is kind of the settings I'm sticking with. I'm also going to bring the deck's 30 FPS cap into play here. And yeah, for the most part, I have not found anywhere in a couple hours of testing at 30 FPS where these settings would dip below 30. There may be areas of the game where that happens, but for me running around and doing some combat, just really getting into it, I didn't have any problems, which was great to see. So the game obviously suffers from its own pop-in and performance issues as it has since launch, but at least I can get a very steady, nice experience here on the deck, whether it be 30 FPS or unlocked frame rate. But 40 FPS, not so much, and 60 FPS only if we're in cyberspace missions. And that's kind of what I want to go into now before we wrap up the video. Is the performance obviously going to be a bit different as we get into those missions. So as we hop in here with these same settings at the 30 FPS, of course these are much easier to run than the open world, and 30 FPS on the small screen doesn't feel too bad or too blurry when you're playing. I'm someone who gets a lot of motion sickness and problems and headaches and everything at a lot of games at 30 FPS, but luckily on the deck's smaller screen, well, with some games it doesn't affect me, so I've been okay with this game. But what you are able to do, if you wanted to in these, is unlock that 30 FPS frame rate and get into 60 FPS, which we'll do down here. I don't know how many people are going to just click on the quick access menu and go change to 60 just for these missions, but it does make it a lot more smoother and fluid. And I've played 3 or 4 of these different levels at 60 FPS and 30, and there's been no problem holding 60 the whole time in these if I want to. But if I don't want to change the settings back and forth, or if I don't want to run VRR, then I'll just leave it at 30. But it's definitely an option there for you if you want to get into it. And here I've just unlocked the frame rate again, going back out into the open world with those settings, so not using any cap. And it'll just float anywhere between 30 FPS or 32 FPS on up until 60, depending on where I'm at with these settings. So it works pretty well, and I think I'll be enjoying Sonic here on the Steam Deck and just kind of playing through it, even with all its flaws and issues. There's DLC coming next year. Being a Sonic fan, it's something I kind of just want to play through anyway, and definitely needs a good bit of work, but I think they might be kind of onto a decent direction here with the game, and it's decent enough on Steam Deck. So anyways, guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks a lot for coming to check out the video as always. I really appreciate it. I'll see you guys in the next one.